Lesson 15.4, Special Quadrilaterals. For this one, rather than vocabulary, we have some questions that we need to ask. The first question should be, how many pairs of opposite sides are parallel? So when we look at a shape, we need to look to see how many pairs. So a pair would be like the left and the right side, or the top and the bottom side. Second question is, which sides have even lengths? If you look at the difference between a square and a rectangle, is a square has to have all sides being equal, and a rectangle would have the top and the bottom being equal and the right and the left being equal. The third question is, how many right angles are there? Again, when you look at the difference between a square and a rhombus, the difference is a square has 4 right angles and a rhombus does not. So let's take a look at some pictures that I drew down here and look at the differences between them and see how we can answer some of these questions when we look at them. So first, let's look at the trapezoid right down here. A trapezoid has exactly one pair of parallel sides. In this case, it's the top and the bottom. You need to be careful though. A trapezoid can be turned on its side. I don't know if that really worked or not. No, it didn't. But just because you tip it on its side doesn't mean that it's no longer a trapezoid. So the key is question number 1. How many pairs of opposite sides are parallel? And if your answer is only 1, then it's always going to be a trapezoid. Now the most common one you're going to see is a parallelogram, because it has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel and equal. But if you notice, this one has 2 pairs of parallel lines, this one has 2 pairs of parallel lines, and this one has 2 pairs of parallel lines. So even though it's a parallelogram, it's also going to be a rectangle, a square, and a rhombus. The key important thing about a rectangle is that it has 4 right angles. And it also has 2 pairs of parallel lines. So we need to look at question 3 and question 1. But what if we say that for question 2 the sides have even lengths? Is it still a rectangle? Well, yeah, it is. And we would probably call it a square. But remember, a square is just a special case or a special form of rectangle, which again is a special form of parallelogram, which is a special case of quadrilaterals. Let's look at a rhombus. A rhombus has 4 even length sides, almost like a diamond, but the question is, would a square be considered a rhombus? And yes, it would. Even though it has the 4 right angles, it still has all of the characteristics, having even length sides and 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So therefore, a square is a rhombus. Let's do some practice. And in this practice, let's look at these shapes and see how many different words we can use to describe them. So first of all, this picture. We'd all say that's a parallelogram. But is that all it is? No. I mean, we'd also say that, yes, it's a parallelogram, but it's also a quadrilateral, right? Let's skip to number 3. I should have done this one second. What is this? Right, it's a trapezoid. And we'd always call it a trapezoid, but just like in number 1, we would also have to call that a quadrilateral. Let's look at the middle one, number 2. This is the one that can be confusing. We look at it and we say, it's a square. Well, why is it a square? Well, it has 4 right angles. It has 4 sides that are all even length. It has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. So we look at it and we say that's a square. But how many sides are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a parallelogram. It's a quadrilateral. And it has 2 pairs of parallel lines, so therefore it's a parallelogram. And it has 2 pairs of parallel sides with 4 right angles, so therefore it's a rectangle. And for the same reason, it's also a rhombus. So look at all of these different things that this one picture could be. That square right there could also be a quadrilateral, a rectangle, a parallelogram, and a rhombus. Make sure when you're filling out your assignments, you're looking, what is it asking for? Is it asking for just one classification, or is it asking for all of the classifications that it could be? And even more important, in all of your answers, you should classify it, but then also explain why you're classifying it that. This is a trapezoid. It's a trapezoid because it has only one pair of parallel lines. This is a quadrilateral. We'll stay with it because it has 4 sides. So it's not just the classification that's important, it's also the why. Why is it that shape? I hope you're able to understand what we're talking about when we said special quadrilaterals. If you have any questions, make sure you ask, and I'll see you tomorrow.